there's going to be a lot of the implementation firms out there too, right? So whether it's Accenture, EY, it doesn't matter. If you have relationships with them, you might want to schedule a meeting, or because they'll be there, to have a similar agenda with them. Hey, Accenture rep or point of contact, I'd like to talk to you and other members, your customers that have unlocked more value out of what they already have. Who, how they rolled out particular functionality, how long it took. I like to do that because that rep at Accenture is going to have to funnel that back to ServiceNow's rep. They work together. Trust me.
Welcome to Insights for IT Negotiations, a podcast by UpperEdge, a leading IT sourcing, negotiation, and project execution advisory firm. I'm John Belden, UpperEdge's Chief Research and Strategy Officer.
And I'm Kylie Chisholm, UpperEdge's Marketing Manager. Join us every other week as we share insights to help you maximize the value of your key IT relationships. In each episode, we'll delve into the topics that matter most to IT decision makers and sourcing professionals.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Insights for IT Negotiations. I am joined once again by Adam Mansfield. Adam, how are you doing this morning?
Doing great. It's sunny out. It's getting warmer out. It's a beautiful day here in the South Shore of Massachusetts.
We love to see it. It's happening.
Spring has sprung, isn't it?
Yeah, spring has sprung. So Adam, if you don't know, is our ServiceNow practice leader. And today we are going to be discussing ServiceNow Knowledge. At the time that this episode is going live, ServiceNow Knowledge is right around the corner, beginning of May. So we wanted to talk about how to prepare for it, what to look out for if you are attending Knowledge, or even if you aren't attending Knowledge, the things that you should know, the conversations you should be having, and how to prepare for this time in the vendor's sort of calendar. So we can jump right into the first topic. What are some specific products or themes that you expect ServiceNow to focus on at Knowledge this year?
Yeah, it's a really good question. ServiceNow is really good at kind of building up the hype machine. It stems from McDermott, CEO, getting up there, really high energy at the keynote. So I'll take it from that lens, right? There's the keynote, what I think the key subjects are going to be, but just general themes, like to your point, it's a really good question. Like, it's really going to come down to really two things, maybe three. The first is the obvious one. It's all going to be about AI. I mean, that's probably obvious. So anyone who's listening, you're welcome for that. It's really, though, it's Pro Plus, right? So think about CSM, ITSM, HRS, like that world. Mm-hmm. They're going to try to get you to upgrade, right? That's going to be part of the story, but it's really about AI at its foundational core. Mm-hmm. But it really comes down to Now Assist, right? So you're going to hear Now Assist, Now Assist, Now Assist, Now Assist. You're going to see it all over the place. I don't encourage drinking, but if you are in Vegas, there's going to be a lot of opportunities. If you wanted to play a fun game, the drinking game around the words Now Assist, good luck to you. You probably won't make it out of the opening keynote unless you have a bigger tolerance than I. But the point is, that's going to be big. The other thing is going to be anything relative to kind of CRM, right? I put some content out there about this as well, but there's a battleground that's been picking up here, right? Benioff versus McDermott, Salesforce versus ServiceNow. Salesforce is thinking or saying they're going to try to get into the ITSM space, which is ServiceNow space. Mm-hmm. ServiceNow, McDermott are talking about getting into the CRM space. So there's going to be a lot of that, right? CRM, the acquisitions, MoveWorks, one of the biggest acquisitions that they've had. That's going to be all tying to AI, but also CRM. So MoveWorks, I bet you the CEO of MoveWorks is going to show up on stage. So those are really the two ones. And the third one, I think it's just general. It's maybe a common theme in that it's a common theme at every one of these events at Knowledge. It's all about one platform. Right? So if you want to play another fun game, platform, it's going to be all about, hey, have you thought about ITOM? Have you thought about HRSD? Have you thought about software asset management? Have you thought about? It's all about extending, and continuing to extend out off of the platform, right? So AI, Now Assist, through an upgrade, Pro Plus, CRM, and then more of the platform. Those, to me, would be the three key themes.
Okay. And as you said, this year it's in Vegas. Is it in Vegas every single year, Knowledge?
Yes, I'd have to go back if it always has been. I don't think it always has been. I
Gotcha.
know they flirted around with maybe going to Florida. I think that was maybe a move by McDermott because that's where Sapphire SAP is, and that's where McDermott came from. So I could see a little bit of that gamesmanship. But as of right now, I think it's Vegas and going to be Vegas. The beauty of it is also it's kind of in one spot at the Venetian, which is big. Not that the Venetian's small; it's massive.
Yeah.
Versus like Salesforce, it's like here's a map of downtown San Francisco. Good luck.
Yeah.
Right? It's a little more tailored.
Yeah.
Or
sure.
honed in.
Yeah. Yeah. And as you can expect in Vegas, you can expect some tomfoolery to be going on.
Some foolery by Toms and tomfoolery as well. Yes, 100%.
So then how can attendees, whether they be customers, speakers, how can they best prepare to make the most of their time at Knowledge?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, right? I get this question all the time. And it's simple for me. First, take a step back. The fact that they have to ask me the question, right? Which I like, right? Trusted advisor, love the relationships we have, of course. And I want them to ask. Mm-hmm. But it also is kind of indicative of something, which is often the case, are ServiceNow really doing right by the customer and like telling them how to prepare? Here's an agenda. Here's why we think you should be at this session. Here's the people I want you to meet. Like, it feels like, and I'm pretty certain this will resonate with those listening or watching, part of the disconnect between being prepared is also being driven by ServiceNow. They could actually use this as an opportunity. But to your point, a couple things. Definitely make sure there's an understanding around those that own the relationship with ServiceNow. So if there's a renewal coming up, a negotiation coming up, whatever it may be, people that are attending ServiceNow at all levels within a company, executive sponsorship level, people that might be speaking, I'd really try to get them in a room or the proverbial room, right? Probably a lot of global companies, get them on a Zoom call, Teams call, Google Meet call, Cisco, whatever it is, get them on it. And you really need to figure out who's doing what and what is the overall understanding of the relationship in its totality, right? Arm the people who are going to be out there with the background. Also, that drives unified messaging. Let's have a common talk track. Let's have a common theme. Let's have a common approach. So that's all important before you even get there. The other thing, as I mentioned before, is I would not necessarily drive level attention on pricing and commercial aspects of your deal, but just a general kind of playbook, a one-pager of like, here's what we're spending, here are the products we're using, here's a general synopsis of the relationship, the value receiving. I'd create your own little note card. Circulate that with those that are going to be there, right? It's a nice little thing to have at the ready. Again, not because you're going to get a negotiation, not because someone's going to be walking around and be like, hey, why am I paying too much? Like, it's not because of that. It's just prepare yourself so you really know not just the lane that you sit in for ServiceNow, but the larger relationship. Mm-hmm. The last thing is, and this is important, I mentioned unified messaging. I think it's really important to build an internal game plan, right? So there should be a meeting ahead of the game, who's going, everything I just talked about. As it gets closer, I do a regroup. Get everyone back in the room. Things may have changed, right? A fresh meeting. But here's the key. In preparing for the time there, I would also set markers post the conference. Get this group back within your company to get back in the room 3 weeks later, a month later, whatever it is. I'll debrief, right? A debrief. Because times are crazy. People are busy. Having that kind of state of the market relative to how it went at Knowledge, debrief opportunities, sharing of notes, I think that's really, really important. Whether there's a renewal negotiation, many of you have them in December or not, it's really important as part of your thing pre the conference to set up what happens after the conference. That internally. I'd also say I would recommend getting those that are trying to push people to Knowledge from ServiceNow. I'd put something on their calendars. Hey, 2 months after, whatever it is, we'd like 30 minutes to get your impressions of our time there. Get your thoughts and allow us to also share feedback. Put that marker down because it gives a time window of expectations.
Yeah. And it sets that accountability of making sure that you're on top of on top of it all. And then, so you mentioned earlier, Now Assist is going to be a huge proponent and just like a lot of their more recent products. So for customers that are considering doing more with ServiceNow, like adding on a Now Assist, whether it's an intern buy or part of their upcoming renewal, what's some advice that you have to create leverage and optimize their time while at Knowledge if they're going into Knowledge knowing they want to expand their portfolio?
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And it probably would extend out beyond Now Assist, but it's a really good, right? Because it's obviously most prevalent. ServiceNow is pushing it, upgrade to Pro Plus, comes with Now Assist. How can we get you to taste it and start using it? Here's a couple things. If you're in a sales cycle or in a negotiation, if there's an ability to wait post Knowledge, highly recommend you do that. If you already know you're not going to be doing it and it's further out, this all still applies. I would highly recommend that you are forcing the hand of ServiceNow to put you or who's attending in a room with peers of yours who have started using Now Assist already. Now, they probably have one or two lined up. There's like the really friendly ServiceNow customers that say wonderful things about them. That's going to happen. But I would really pressure test and push ServiceNow to present opportunity for you to talk to many different people that have already used it. Okay? I think they might struggle with that, right? But that's important. Let them struggle. The beads of sweat. That's going to add leverage. The other thing I would do is I would ask them as part of this meeting to set up kind of an area where you can have a place to go, a predestined location and time where the commercial discussions kind of all tie together. So in other words, you're in a negotiation, there's Knowledge. I would already pre-set up an expectation that there's going to be a meeting regarding the negotiations that are going on. The beauty of that is that hopefully real time, you're learning that they don't have a lot of proof points. They haven't fully flushed it out. It's going to create leverage real time. The other reason why that's important, set the meeting up before you go, is this. And I don't like to usually deploy tactics like this, but I think it's fair. If you're in a negotiation regarding adding Now Assist or any one of various products, and if that's coming to a head, let's say in June, post Knowledge, or December, having a meeting on the calendar where you're all in a room at Knowledge that can be taken away if they're not commercially negotiating what they're supposed to pre-Knowledge is important. So play this out. You're in negotiations. You're pushing back on pricing. You're pushing back on the volume discount structures tied to Now Assist. You're pushing back on the license metric, how it's defined, and you're not getting good answers. You're not getting good answers, and now you got to go to Knowledge. You got 3 people going. You got a speaker going. There's a pre-identified meeting that's going to be about the current state of the negotiation. There's a predetermined meeting with putting you in a room with other peers. If ServiceNow hasn't moved the needle far enough ahead of Knowledge, you can cancel those meetings at Knowledge. That's powerful. So think about this. Your rep is getting your people within your company to show up at a dinner. And it's going to be your representative people for your company and 5 others. And probably before the event, your rep talked to the other reps and they all created buzz. Hey, do you know that XYZ is also going to be there? They have a representative there. We're really excited. They're going to be there. They're considering Now Assist. It's going to be a great conversation. And then you don't show up. They're going to have to, what are they going to say? Well, we've held the line on our negotiation points. They decide. It's very tricky. So I think getting those scheduled could benefit because it might be valuable, but there's also value in being able to take away that opportunity that they should earn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, talk about making them sweat.
100%. And plus, it's really hot in Vegas in May. Not as bad as June and July, but it's pretty hot. Now, granted, in the Venetian, they got that casino air blowing through.
Yeah.
So maybe it won't be as hot, but definitely if you step outside, it will be.
Did you know that UpperEdge offers subscription advisory services? This on-demand solution provides essential benchmarks and market insights specific to your business needs precisely when you need it, empowering you and your team to make informed decisions for your IT initiatives. Position your team for success. Reach out today via the link in the show notes to learn more.
And then so for customers that are either going out to Vegas or have, people from their team heading out to Vegas, have a renewal coming up, but know that they likely aren't going to add anything at renewal, how can they best prepare to tackle knowledge?
Yeah, it's great. Like, this is the other end of the spectrum, right? Which, by the way, is a lot of customers. So ServiceNow obviously wants your time spent to be on the themes that I just talked about, right? They're going to build agendas so that you're talking about Now Assist, CRM. How do I buy more? How do I get more? That's what they want. Fine. But if you're not doing anything, you already know that. I'd flip it on its head. So let's say there's a scenario where you've gotten an agenda from your ServiceNow rep, which, by the way, this isn't happening as much as it should be, as I talked about before. Let's say you got one. Likely 90% of it is all new stuff on there. Flip it on its head. Send it back to them. Red line or color code all the stuff that you're not interested in. And then add to it, would like to learn how I'm going to get more out of my current CSM product that I'm using half of. Like to learn more why I should stay on ITSM Pro and not downgrade. I'd like to put me in a room to show me how I can get more value out of impact. Put me in a room. So in other words, you're going to force them to change the agenda and shape it to more value out of what you already have. They don't like that. That includes put me in a room with people that similarly hadn't rolled everything out. You corrected it, and everyone's in a really good, happy state. I like to talk to those types of customers. I like to talk about customers that are trying to get more out of what they already have, and how do they go about doing that? Internal change management, but also the rollout plan. I like you to put me in that room. In other words, reset the agenda. Now, if they haven't given you an agenda, okay, great. That's their problem. You hit them with an agenda. So everything I just said, it's, hey, I haven't heard from you, not sure why, but here are the 5 things I need because I have these 6 people going to be at Vegas. And so I'm looking for you to coordinate accordingly so that I have a game plan properly. It's all about more out of what I already have. Last thing, and this one's a little tricky, right? Depending on where you are in your renewal, if it's coming up, how far out, you may also want to talk to customers, ask them to talk to customers that are still ServiceNow customers. So they're still using a lot of stuff, ITSM, CSM, HRSD, whatever it may be, but maybe made a decision to drop impact, or maybe made a decision to move off of software asset management, or maybe I'd like to talk to those customers. So in other words, help me also look at the customers that right-size their portfolio. Now, trust me, that is going to be massive red flags. But I think there's a notice that you're putting them on by sending that, because you can always pick that back up when it's time to actually negotiate.
Sure. Yeah. So definitely, regardless of whether you're looking to add on or keep your portfolio the same, there's a lot of knowledge, pun intended, to get out of your time at Knowledge, and a lot of valuable ways to spend your time making ServiceNow, put their money where their mouth is and show you the value that you can receive.
100%. And on that point too, just being mindful of time, but on that point too, as I'm thinking through this, there's going to be a lot of the implementation firms out there too, right? So whether it's Accenture, EY, it doesn't matter. If you have relationships with them, you might want to schedule a meeting, or because they'll be there, to have a similar agenda with them. Hey, Accenture rep or point of contact, I'd like to talk to you and other members, your customers that have unlocked more value out of what they already have, who, how they rolled out particular functionality, how long it took. I like to do that because that rep at Accenture is going to have to funnel that back to ServiceNow's rep. They work together, trust me.
Yeah.
So there's an element of reach out there too, right? Yeah. They're going to be there. So why don't you get similar discussions going with them? Now, they're also going to want to talk about the new things that ServiceNow has, because that's how they can make more money, because they're going to roll it out, implement the new. But force them to come to the table and talk about how their firm and their customers are getting more out of what they already have too.
And then to close out the episode, typically we're focusing on tips for customers. That's obviously what this conversation has been about. We are a buy-side advocate at the end of the day. But do you have any tips or suggestions for ServiceNow account executives that will be at Knowledge?
Yeah. So this is, look, I love this, right? Because I always think about things from I'm really truly trying to help in a weird way, the vendors that we cover. I really am. Like, we're always going to be buy-side advocates like you talked about, right? But, I'm hoping that the things that I talk about and we're talking about today, like, resonates from a perspective of, look, if you make some slight behavioral changes or you approach your customers a little bit differently, like, you may win too, right? You may actually be able to shorten your sales cycle. You may be able to actually build stronger relationships. Now, again, at the end of the day, the customer, we need to balance it out, but this is important. So I love this question. Number one, if you have not reached out to people that you know are going to be at Knowledge, if you have not reached out to them to offer them support, guidance, agenda setting, hey, what would you like to, instead of forcing what you want them to do, if you haven't done that yet, you might want to. Like, that's probably my tip number one, right? Like, get on it, bro, and what's gal or bro? I don't know but anyways, the point is, get on it, tailor it, be specific, don't push all new stuff, weave it in. I get you got to do that, and obviously they know that too. But like, I would come to it like, hey, you know what? A month ago we had a discussion about how you could get more out of ITSM Pro. I heard you. I'd love you to meet XYZ company with a coffee. They're happy to do this, and they're going to talk to you about how they got more out of ITSM Pro last year. If you did that, that's what customers want. Yeah. It makes it a lot easier than to say, hey, and by the way, would you mind coming to talk about Pro Plus analysis? I guarantee you there might be more interest, right? That's number one. Number two, don't be creepy. Okay? Don't be creepy. It's like, I've seen this, and here's what I mean by that. I have literally been with customers on the floor, in very senior people, junior people, doesn't matter, humans. And we're in conversations, and they'll stop me and say, hey, there's my rep again. She's just roaming around where I happen to be all the time. It's a little weird. He's hiding behind the fern in the lobby. Like, look, you just laugh. I'm telling you, this happens.
I believe
so. This is obviously extreme. Just don't be creepy. Okay. Number three, have action plans pre, during, and post that show you're listening and thinking about the customer. So in other words, hey, would you mind getting a conversation that I can help make sure you have everything you need before you get there? Hey, while we're there, I like to just meet in person to just talk about how are things going. Have you been meeting with the right people? What's your feedback? Real time, boots on the ground. Post, hey, I'd like to get something on the calendar so you guys give a chance to give me feedback on how the agenda played out, how the conference it was. Can we do that? Be proactive. I said there was three, but there's one more thing. I think at some point when you are in these interactions and you're at a dinner or you're at a meeting or you're at a coffee or whatever it may be, just understand that the people that you're speaking with are human beings, right? Like, they may be having a stressful time hurting themselves through the crowds of people. And if you had a meeting that was scheduled and they can't get to you in time, be flexible, right? If something went wrong, if they had to do an emergency call because the IT help desk is down at their company, just be flexible to the best of your ability. Like, just be a human. That's what you want. You're at a conference, you're human interactions. Just always remember that, okay? Like, these people are human too. So just because they might not get there on time, just because they may have to get pulled into something else, don't take it personally. Step back, ask how you can help, and then reshape.
Yeah.
All of this could actually help your relationship. And I'm telling you, the customers that I talk with will be ecstatic, because guess what? You are going to stand out from the other vendors, the other conferences they're going to go to. You are going to stand out. And ultimately, that's what you want.
No, and it's a great point of conferences are overwhelming, and all of those people have a full-time job that doesn't just go away during the time that they're at the conference. So you're balancing a lot.
Family back at home.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, loved ones, they're taking care of their mother who's at home, like animal, whatever.
Yeah.
There's other stuff going on.
So you want to be helpful, but you don't want to be overbearing. Like, it's striking that balance.
100%. 100%.
Totally. Well, thank you, Adam. This was a great conversation. I think this was a really comprehensive discussion on how to prepare for knowledge, what to expect with knowledge. We also have some other content on the UpperEdge site that I'll make sure to link in the show notes so that you can feel as prepared as possible heading into the conference in just a couple of weeks. And then, as always, you can always reach out to us via our Contact Us form to discuss ServiceNow generally, ServiceNow Knowledge specifically. But yeah, thank you so much for that conversation.
Got it. And then one more thing. I love that zip up.
Thank you. Yes, the UpperEdge zip up.
It's a nice zip up.
All right. Well, thanks, Adam, and thanks everyone for listening.
Thank you for listening to Insights for IT Negotiations. This episode was hosted by John Belden and Kylie Chisholm and produced by Mike Brown. Be sure to subscribe to the show wherever you listen to podcasts so you never miss a new episode. For more information on IT sourcing and risk management strategies, visit UpperEdge.com and subscribe to our monthly UpperEdge newsletter. Thank you for listening.